Hello, welcome to Dominic Winter Auctioneers here in the Cotswolds, Gloucestershire, UK. I'd like to introduce you to some of the highlights from our forthcoming sales on the 11th and 12th of December 2019. We have a wealth of material on show from the 16th all the way through to the 20th centuries, and this includes material from a number of private collections which have not previously come onto the market at all. I'll introduce you to a few of the more interesting items. Early antiquarian books include some highly unusual texts and often with very interesting provenance or ownership histories. One of them is this volume here. This is Richard Clifton's Plea for Infant Baptism, a work published in Amsterdam when he was in exile in 1610. Richard Clifton was one of the most important figures behind the Pilgrim Fathers, the English men and women who sailed to America in 1620 on the Mayflower. Clifton was their pastor, really. He was a vicar at Badworth in Nottinghamshire, and then I think at Scrooby Manor, where they were, as it were, isolated, and he was instructor to several of the key figures on that first Mayflower voyage. This volume, interestingly, also comes directly down from the Clifton family. In fact, it's inscribed by Richard Clifton, the son of Richard Clifton. Also in the sale are a number of rare continental books, including some early science, such as these works here. This is a copy of an anthology of cosmographies from the mid-16th century. But most interestingly, it is inscribed by the sole pupil of Copernicus, Georg Rheticus, one of the sort of main figures, a prime mover in the scientific revolution of the 16th century. We have established that the inscription at the top of the book, top of the title page there, is in his own hand, and that makes it an extraordinary rarity. Also, from a different private collection is this oration in praise of mathematics by Niccolo Aggiunti. Now, he was a pupil of Galileo, the next stage in the scientific revolution, you might call it. A short text, but entirely Galilean in its content, so much so that recent scholarship has suggested it may even be a work by Galileo himself. For our second day's sale, we move into the 19th and mostly 20th century period with modern literature, first editions, children's books, private press, volumes of all sorts. A few of the highlights in this second day are a very nice copy in the original publisher's cloth binding of Herman Melville's The White Jacket, a two-volume set, first edition which precedes the American version, and it's rare to have it appear in this original binding. There's also a set of the Lord of the Rings, early impressions, but significantly with a letter by Tolkien dating from 1956. There's also a copy of George Orwell's Homage to Catalonia, a classic work on the Spanish Civil War, again this time in the rare pictorial dust wrapper. Amongst the material in this second day is an unusual collection of books belonging to the Anglo-German economist Eduard Rosenbaum. Rosenbaum was a Hamburg economist and librarian at the Chamber of Commerce there. He attended, as part of the German delegation, the peace negotiations at Versailles in 1919. That's where he met John Maynard Keynes, and 15 years later, Keynes played an important role in bringing Rosenbaum over to England following the rise of the Nazi Party, and Rosenbaum was given a job initially in Cambridge and then at the London School of Economics as the chief librarian. He was quite a man of letters, Rosenbaum, generally speaking, and he knew writers and artists in Germany in the 1910s and 20s particularly. One of his favourite areas of book collecting centres around the poetry and literature of the German poet Stefan Georg. This volume, for example, Maximin it's called, is an elaborate homage to an athlete, young German athlete, Maximilian Kronberger, a budding poet who sadly died from meningitis just a day after his 16th birthday. The poets around Georg idolised the youth and made this volume in his memory to immortalise him, and this became part of their entire philosophy. Also in that section, in the Rosenbaum Library, is an extraordinary association copy of André Gide's Isabelle, inscribed by André Gide to Joseph Conrad, on the half title there. Gide was a great admirer of Joseph Conrad's work and was in fact significantly involved in the first French translation of his works. In fact, he translated Typhoon. And maybe one more, this pictorial volume, just a children's book essentially, an ABC, is by the German expressionist Conrad Felixmüller. He produced this for his two sons, Luca and Titus. Only 100 copies were ever issued, and apparently only 10 were hand-coloured. This is one of the 10 hand-coloured by the artist himself. He inscribes it so inside. But the woodcuts, in typical German expressionist style, are vivid and highly contrasted, and just a wonderful sequence of simplified images in the original wrappers. Thank you.